when people think about pyramids, they look across the ocean. But long before colonization, long before history books drew borders, North America was already sacred ground. And these weren't villages, these were ceremonial cities built within earth instead of stone, aligned to the sun instead of kings. Where you're about to hear about is some of the myths that weren't imported from elsewhere, they were America's original temples. Now, the first of these is the Cahokia mounds, which are in Illinois. Now, these temples themselves were built somewhere between 600 to 1400 early Common Era. They are Mississippian in nature, or their culture was. They had a peak population between 20 and 40,000 people, which at the time of their discovery was larger than London. These were really about full ceremonial metropolis is what it was. They had political capital, religious centers, astronomical observatories. There was a monk's mound of a true four-tiered pyramid aligned within the cardinal directions, which we know is very important. Now, the key feature to this was the monk's mound, which was the largest earth pyramid in the Americas. This base area is larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. This has a solar calendar used to mark solstices and equinoxes, and they had a priestly astronomy in action. Now, this was also elite burial grounds. This was sacred retainers buried with rulers. This was clear hierarchy and divine kingship. Now, this matters because this wasn't simply a village. This was a state-level civilization with theology, class structure, and cosmic symbolism baked into a city planning. This wasn't collapse in a mystery. This is what happens with climate stress, political stress, and population pressures all collide that ended what was a civilization. Then there's also Point Poverty, which is in what we now know as Louisiana. This place was built roughly between 1700 to 1100 BCE. So this, we know by the date, is older than the pyramids in Egypt. Now, the structure itself is said to be 6 massive concentric earth ridges. There's a central plaza aligned to celestial events, and you have multiple large mounds for ritual usage. And what makes this incredible is this was built by hunter-gatherer societies, not farmers who were settled in. So this took massive long-distance trade work to build all this. They had copper from the Great Lakes, you had stone from the Appalachians, and so this indicates ritual motivation. It was part of their religion to do this. They built this because of their belief systems, not because of economy. These people gathered here for ceremony, seasonal rituals, and cosmological observances. So in this aspect, religion came first in the construction of this place. Now, there's also the Emerald Mounds, which is in what we know as Mississippi. Its construction is dated between 1200 to 1730 BCE. Again, this is Mississippian culture, the Natchez civilizations. And this is one massive platform mound. It has smaller temple mounds on top and a raised ceremonial structure above the floodplain. Now, its function was primarily a temple platform for priest kings. Ritual center, it was tied to solar worship, and here you had public ceremonies, and divine authority was defined as being up above. Now, this claimed the mantle of being direct descendants from the sun, not metaphor. This is their political ideology and socially how they were structured. Then there are the Etowah Indian mounds, which reside in Georgia. Now, these were constructed somewhere between 1000 and 1550 CE. These were 3 main platform mounds. They had elite residential and temple use. They had rich grave goods, copper plates, stone statues, ceremonial weapons. They had symbolism in birdman imagery, which was the upper world, and serpent motifs, which defined the underworld. They had an earth mound, which represented the middle world, and they had a full cosmology depicted in their physical form. Then there is Moundville, which is in Alabama. Now, this place was constructed roughly between 1100 and 1450 CE. It has 29 platform mounds and a central plaza. It has precise geometric planning and clear sacred center defined throughout this place. Its function was primarily a regional religious capital. They had burial grounds for the elites and ceremonial pilgrimage sites that took place here as well. Now, this mound shows massive standardization on sacred city design, meaning it wasn't random, it followed religious law on how it was built. There's also the Aslatan, built in Wisconsin, and this temple site is known to have been constructed in roughly 1000 to 1300 CE. Now, this is built on platform mounds. It has a defensive structure built in, and this matters because this proves that these influences reach far to the north, forming a continental network, not just isolated cultures. These temple sites all show a pattern. They're scattered throughout the United States. They're all raised pyramid platforms. They all possess solar alignment, which is very important. They're priests, kings, authorities, and they represent a triad with the cosmos. Again, sky, earth, and the underworld. And the cities were built to function as ritual machines. These were temples first that became their homes in secondary capacity.